So you're not gonna bring it up again, this item will not be brought back.
No.
Gentlemen's agreement?
You need that. I just want to know.
MOU.
You consider it MOU.
Pinky swear.
See, and the thing is, we go back to the same thing, is that this is Mr. Norfleet's position, and I mean, we can't be creating jobs and asking them to be filled with somebody specifically, because there's no difference between doing it in the open and doing it in the dark.
Okay, and all I ask is, it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So if you're asking me not to get into something that belongs to him, then I'm gonna ask the same of you guys. Okay? Don't be doing it. Because this practice has got to be done by everybody. If we don't touch it, we don't touch it.
I mean, to be fair, this is the first time that it happens since we've been in office that it's brought to council.
Well, history on that.
Go ahead.
Mr. Pettit?
Please read the.
Chitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Gabbard?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And yes, motion passes.
Gentlemen's agreement.
Gentlemen.
Item number 36, discussion and action on authorizing the city attorney to research federal, state, county, and local statutes and ordinances for the purpose of regulating or creating enforcement actions on local salvage junkyards that have become a hazard to the community. Motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Pettis. Any discussion, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, it's very important that we do something about this issue because of what happened. And,
I guess I got support on this one, huh?
Yeah.
Of course. So this is my item, may I speak on this? Okay, so this is my item, may I speak on it? The reason I put this in there, not so much just because of the recent issue we had with the Lucero junkyard and over the ordinance issues. This has been about the fourth time now in the past, since 2005, that I know of, that I'm aware of. This is about the fourth or fifth time that we've had an issue with these salvage yards over fires. We've had 3 fires in 3 different junkyards. Then Lucero's come in, and now we have an ordinance issue of them buying stuff. So we need to try to find something that we can control these junkyards that are purchasing them. And I'm hoping that Mr. Martinez can find something, either local, state, or whatever, that we can utilize to put a stop on these things. My neighborhood now, where I live, and you guys know where I live, twice now since 2006. The first time we had to evacuate, that was the fire that happened at Sierra Mills. Okay, that was in 2005, 2006. My neighborhood had to evacuate because of that fire. I'm not trying to blame on anybody, I'm just saying, because of the conditions of that junkyard right there, it created a hazard for that neighborhood. Now, fast forward to right now, Lucero junkyard is right across the canal from my house. And had issues gotten worse there, and I don't know what all you had over there, chief, but at 10:30 at night, I think I heard the first explosion because it woke me up and rattled my windows. So we got to do something to put a stop to this. We've got to do some kind of law enforcement. I don't know if we can.
I can certainly look, and I'm happy to, but I guess my request would be, what's the goal, you know, to reduce the hazards there, to shut them down, to prevent more from opening, to prevent them from expanding, and
Well, if you just say you have, let's say you have one violation that we can discover on inspector's plan, and there's a violation. And then there's a back violation that comes in later on, and maybe we need to take some kind of enforcement action where, as it builds up.
Lose your life.
I guess just the way that the item on the agenda reads is just how can we make it safer? Any action that we can take, you know, can you, like you said, maybe find more, we do this, can we do that, make them safer
so that
in
we can,
general.
that's good direction. I mean, we're not talking about an aesthetic issue, this is a safety issue.
It's safety.
Got it.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, no, he asked the right question, our attorney asked the right question. I mean, I personally, I don't think that you can regulate fires. If there are some, it's not against the law. So, I think that's not up for discussion. But Mr. Cox is right. We have this in El Paso who has salvage yards, scrap yards, pretty close to downtown. Take a look at them, and that's what he's proposing. Or our attorney to look at other cities surrounding and if their ordinance and their regulations towards such. So,
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Pettis.
No, it was, this is somewhat related to that, to this whole issue. For example, where I live, there is a salvage yard that, I don't know if it's clandestine to the back, it's off of,
But,
Apodaca. And you see the cars coming in and out, the junkyard, and they take them, I'm thinking to Juarez.
Oh, the
The back.
transportation.
And so that to me is also a safety issue, because those are areas that don't have I don't think are properly equipped to handle that kind of, vehicle or that kind, it's a business, it's an improper business, I think.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, because it is a hazard issue, I don't think that, for example, I'll give you examples, on Hopkins, that one burned down, the one in Northeast burned down, the lumber also in Hopkins burned down, the waste up in Northeast burned down. I understand that we have a concern, yes I do, but I mean, El Paso didn't go out there and change their rules because they already had the rules there. I think that this issue is very different than those, because some of these were burned because lightning hit it and it sparked a fire. One employee was smoking, stuff that nature, it's out of control. But because the fact that they were accepting hazardous materials like with ammunition and stuff like that, I mean, because it's a hazard to our residents, because remember, these were before we started the city, but we want something from the city to say, hey, we need to regulate them and see if we can find something like Mr. Cox says, that we need to stop them from getting ammunition or grenades for that matter, because you never know what else we're gonna get. And unfortunately, they belong to the outskirts of El Paso because we're a little small municipality, but I mean, we also need to regulate them in that issue as to it is a hazardous to our neighborhoods that are around that.
Jim, and I guess just a question, straight up, can we stop them from taking that kind of stuff? Can we just say, don't take it? If you do take it, we can make up a system on how to properly handle it. Because it seems, my question was, they were close to Alamo, right? That's where they were at, close to Alamo, and they came all the way down here? That's a far trip just to drop off some animals. So why did they come all the way down here? You couldn't go to Luces, you couldn't go to El Paso, you had to come all the way to Fort Worth? You never have a deal with them, or what?
Yes, I think you can place limits on what they can accept. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what those limits are. There might be very few limits, but I think there are some. For instance, I'm confident there's a DOE regulation in the federal law that says you can't get radioactive stuff that's above a certain level. So yeah, I know there are limits on it. The specific,
Motion to approve?
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Mr. Rodriguez, second by Mr. Perez.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Cameron?
Aye.
Mr. Cox? And Ms. Rodriguez? Motion passes.
Item 37, discussion action to waive purchasing policy for real estate or credit services for the old Wick Kingston Road project. Do we have a motion?
Motion made.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Perez, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. To approve, any discussion, Mr. Perez?
No?
Anybody else?
Nope.
no, what's going on?
It's basically
Give me a little bit.
as the
is that the same issue? Our purchasing policy says for professional services, you get competitive quotes. And state law says that for professional services,
we have a motion to kill the
state law says for professional services, a governmental entity may not select a provider of professional services on the basis of competitive bids. So our policy says go get competitive quotes. State law says you can't do it based on competitive bids. So we're complying. We can comply with state law. We know who they are. We've already, frankly, they've done work for us in the past on this project. And it's worth it. You're how you procure them, it says how you don't procure them. Don't use competitive bids. So we're complying with state law. Our policy says, go get competitive quotes. Arguably, and Mr. Northland referred to this earlier, arguably, there's an exception in our purchasing manual for purchase for professional services. It's not as explicit as I'd like it to be. It's certainly not as explicit as this state law to make sure we're safe. The Mexican Council will affirmatively weigh the policy. We've already got, that's the statutory issue, the practical issue. TxDOT, you have to be a TxDOT approved appraiser. There's only 3 of them in El Paso. 2 of them are working for us. So unless we want to get someone from, Denton or Houston or something like that, we don't have a whole lot of choice. We've already got 2. And TxDOT requires you to have 2 for this purpose. You can't just get 1. We've already got these 2 working for us. They were hired before I ever started doing work for Socorro. I think they've been doing work on this project since 2011. So they have a history with it. They're the same ones we're using now. TxDOT is being very good to us. We need to do some new appraisals based on TxDOT's large S, and to do that, to make sure that we're okay doing that, I'm asking for council to waive the purchasing policy.
And one of the things to remember is that state supersedes ours.
Now, I have a follow-up question. So what you're really pointing out to us here twice now is that our purchasing policy is lacking, and that we need to go back at it and look at it, and that by having to waive the purchasing policy, then we just eliminated the purchasing policy we have in place. So we're saying it's bad.
No, I mean, the purchasing policy is like that. You're eliminating one little part that says go get competitive quotes.
So it's something we need to correct.
It would be good to do that, yes.
And my question.
I will say this in Karina's defense.
It's a B.
Huh?
It's a B minus, right?
No, I mean, public procurement, even among municipal lawyers, public lawyers, it's pretty darn complicated. I mean, that's advanced chemistry, that's advanced calculus, it's pretty hard.
Okay. Now, I guess I want to ask you this question, sir. You saw there was an issue with this, right? And that's why you put it on the agenda. So now, if you see there's an issue with purchase, did you tell Mr. Norfleet so that he can correcting it?
In fact, we talked to him directly. Mr. Norfleet communicated with Sandra, and she talked to me about the Mara Rosa sport issue, because Mr. Murphy asked me to get that on the agenda. But we haven't talked directly about overhauling the purchasing policy. But because he conveyed an inquiry to me through Sandra, yeah, I know his word.
Well, similar to Mr. Cox's question, my question is then, how often, I mean, it seems like it wasn't, but okay, was the purchasing policy given to you to review?
Let me say that, no, it was placed on the agenda, nobody asked me to look.
Right, and that's fine, that was, I guess, what I'm getting at, is that, something like this, I mean, I understand you have to go through every single agenda item and make sure everything's correct and whatnot, but should we start heading in that direction? Or is there something that we can do, for example, on the administration side, where, hey, we're about to change our purchasing policy, let's send it to the attorney and make sure it's correct before we put it on council, because, I mean, it seems like we approved, you say it's a B, which I think it's getting up, but it seems like we're approving a flawed product, because now, one meeting later, we're having to go back and amend, because of the fact that things aren't there. So, I mean, I'm not letting Betty, she's the one that wrote it, but I mean, should it be that it goes to Mr. Norfleet, or should they just send it to you? Say, like civil service, I mean, we just had the employee handbook, we just had a revision to the ordinance, things like that goes for our legal department, so should this be forwarded to you? Should you all focus more time on actually reading through every agenda item? What do you think?
I think it's we'll do whatever you tell us to do is the real answer, but I tend to err toward the former. My default is toward the former. I don't want to jump in and on my own initiative say, you know what, I'm going to do 45 hours worth of work and rewrite the entire purchasing policy. I'm happy to. And don't get me wrong, I'll do it. But I'd like the affirmative. Yeah, I'd like someone to call me and say, hey, Jim, I got a project for you. I know it's a big deal. Here's my timeline. I want to do this, which is precisely what happened with the civil service rewrite. It's precisely what happened with the subdivision rewrite, and a couple of other issues like that. This one, I think no one came to me and said we want you to review the whole thing. But my suggestion is, so that you don't incur an expense that's a surprise, make it an affirmative step. Have someone, and whoever, Mr. Norfleet or his designee or someone on council, contact us and say, here's a project, we want you to look at this, make sure it's brass
So,
tacks.
Mr. Norfleet, on this one, through Betty and yourself, was there a decision to say, let's have the attorney look at it? Was it just, because again, I don't want to turn it into where we're saying, you know what, we're gonna turn around, send it to the attorneys. I feel that should already be done from the administration side before it's presented to council. Was that a discussion never held?
I am not sure how much involvement was turned over to the attorney, but on policy types of issues, there's always disagreements with what we do, and I like to say one as an example. I don't agree that the city council should sign checks. I have no understanding of why council has to be involved in administrative function, but it's been placed in our policy before you all. I'm not saying
And I agree,
things
because
are
I thought about that
happening.
sometimes too, like, I have nothing to do here.
Yeah, but when council do not want to take it out, it doesn't mean that it's right or it's wrong. I think it does the wrong thing. Why? If I could look around and see the behavior of if council gotta walk around in the whole building with checks and reading and signing and hey, that's like technical no, but our policy says we are to do it. To me, if it works, sometimes it does, okay, but technically, these are arguments, these are philosophical differences of how to manage something. But when council has that and they want to take part in doing those sort of things, how do you draw the line? Now, I've already said, take the check part out. Check part does not come out. Now, that's an example. So for me, it's like, well, what difference does it really make until it gets to a level like this? Of saying, why are we doing these sort of things that we shouldn't be doing or unnecessary, or is the manager's job to be sure that things are followed. But when you have that conversation about what council wants to do or whatever it might be, only when it becomes a problem can you now correct it. I have no problem of arguing and forcing an issue of saying no. But that's not the process.
And
Now it becomes a process.
Before Mr. Perez goes ahead, I just to follow up with this one, and similar to what I had stated earlier, I mean, you and I talk often, we meet and stuff like that, and this is the first time that I hear that you're opposed to signing the checks by council members. We haven't talked about that, you know, we and I haven't, and so it goes back to the same thing. I hope that you feel that you have the freedom to tell us, no, I don't agree, yes, I do agree. And I do think that if that's something, I mean, we haven't, like you said, that part of the policy was placed before we came in. I mean, I didn't know that you didn't agree with it until now, so I was like, yeah, me and you both. But if, I want you to let us know when you don't agree with things, like you are the manager. You have the right to say, hey guys, Karina's presenting this, but in my opinion, this is why it shouldn't be there. That's what I want to hear. I want you to take that initiative and say, you know what, I don't agree with this. At least you're giving us, because if you notice when we're here, Renee asked for your opinion, we asked for your opinion, but at the same time, I would like you to take that initiative and say, my staff is presenting this product, I don't agree with it. Similar to when the chief presented the guns, you know, you didn't agree with the price or whatnot, and I talked to you about that, you know, you let me know, I don't agree with it. I would like for that to be an occurrence that it doesn't have to wait until council asks you about it. Let us know if you don't agree with it, because you are the manager, and if you don't agree with your staff, I don't want to hear the staff recommendation, I want to hear your recommendation.
And I was going to say that I completely agree with Norfolk that we as council, whomever it is, should not be signing checks. I think that it had a purpose when it was reestablished because you didn't have anyone on staff, so they had to do it themselves. And I think that
Maybe the check and balance way, the check and balance.
Yeah.
we're too big for that.
Jim, we're already.
Again, we're too big for that. I think.
I get that's an important issue, but
Yeah,
we're stepping away from the agenda.
Here's my questions about this item. We're having issues with our purchasing policy. and there's discussion between you, the CFO, and Mr. Murphy. Can you both look at it? Oh, I got all three of you, can all three of you look at it and see what you guys come up with and how we can amend this situation?
I think you're instructed. If Mr. Northley calls me and says, Jim, I need you to bird dog this, I want you to revamp it, I'm all over it, yeah.
Yeah, I think the
Or
general
his designee.
sentiment from council is Mr. Norfleet, present us an amended version that basically fits what you see as the policy should be, and that it goes along with state law, so we have no issues. Mr. Rodriguez?
Me?
You have a question?
No, I was just thinking about the check signing. Just FYI,
No,
we can't do that, right?
no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I think, I'm sorry I let it go, because I was going to stand up here, which is
Take it
unusual.
out, Commissioner. Take it out. Go ahead.
You forgot.
And
Did you see that balloon?
What's in this? What's in this?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, we should get Mr. Northley, do the job.
okay, so we're gonna approve waiving the policy for this one, what we're saying, right? Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Pettis?
We're voting now, guys.
Aye.
Mr.
I am
Pettis.
sorry.
Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Canada?
Let's go through the waiving the policy for this one.
I'll abstain.
Thursday? Mr. Clark?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rodriguez?
All right, so it passes. Moving on to executive session, we have one